WZDX presents an extra look at the hottest action from the world of sports. This is WZDX Sports Extra with Mo Carter, Charity Chambers, and Kayla Carlisle.
Are you ready to rumble? Are you ready to rumble? Are you ready to rumble? Get ready, get ready, get ready. Hey, hey. Are you ready to rumble? Are you ready to rumble? Are you ready to rumble? Get ready, get ready, get ready. Hey, hey, get ready. Hey, hey, get ready. Hey, hey, get ready. Get ready.
Yes.
Man, oh my goodness. I don't know about you, Kayla, but that just got me extremely hyped right now.
I'm very hyped for football season especially.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's been a crazy week for sports, especially the SEC. I'm Charity Chambers, joined alongside Kayla Carlisle.
Yeah, that's right. We'll tell you where Mo Carter is later in the show, but right now we're talking SEC. Let's show you what we've got on tap. We're kicking off tonight's show with none other than SEC Media Days. We're bringing you everything from the Crimson Tide to Coach Saban to Gus Malzahn and even the Auburn Tigers.
Plus, we're throwing in some Tennessee action while we're at it with some words from new head coach Jeremy Pruitt. And of course, wrapping up the show tonight will be our best of the week. And we're just going to dive right into SEC Media Days. This week, Kayla and I went down to Atlanta, a bit of a drive for us compared to Hoover. Nevertheless, it was the annual "Here's Why We'll Be the Team to Beat" rally for each team.
Yeah, for the first time since 1985, more than 1,000 members of the media were not in the Birmingham metro area. Instead, we packed up our bags and headed east to the College Football Hall of Fame. Commissioner Greg Sankey says change is a good thing for the league when it comes to venues, and who knows, they may switch it up even more in the future.
Moving our Media Days events has been on my mind for 2 years. Georgia was on my mind, to quote the song lyric, and we're here now. We're scheduled to be back in Birmingham next year, and then we don't have a destination known. I've not thought about the Superdome in particular, but perhaps a few years ago I wasn't thinking about Atlanta in particular. If we were ever going to move out of Birmingham, this was, to me, the most logical site.
Now, and like you mentioned, it will actually be back in Hoover next year. But this week, one of the main talking points was, of course, the reigning college football champions. You know I'm talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide. So what will they need to do in order to repeat the feat? Well, let's take a look.
From the moment you get on campus, you know, you're expected to play to the standard that Coach Saban has set.
I think I hate losing more than I like winning, and I think that is always a great motivator.
Now, the mindset going into this season is we know that our success isn't going to be inherited, so anything that we want to accomplish as a team this season, it's not going to come from the fact that we won a national championship last year. If anything, that's just going to make it that much harder.
All eyes were on the reigning national champions as the Crimson Tide made waves in Atlanta on day 3 of SEC Media Days. One of the main storylines this year for Alabama is, of course, the quarterback battle between Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts. Before any questions were even asked, Coach Saban addressed it head on.
A lot of the personnel decisions, including the quarterback situation, and I know you're chomping at the bit and everybody's got their hand up to try to ask the question as quickly as possible. It's yet to be determined. It's going to be determined in fall camp by who wins the team, and there's not really a whole lot else to say about it.
As you can see, Saban still hasn't decided who will be leading the team come fall, but he also says that having depth at the position is better than having none. And he knows just how important that is because the Tide is struggling with depth with the linebackers. On top of Rashaan Evans and Sean Dion Hamilton declaring for the draft, this offseason, they've also lost Keith Holcomb and Vidarius Cohen, not to mention Terrell Lewis tore his ACL.
We don't have the depth on defense at linebacker that we had in the past, and losing Terrell Lewis certainly won't help that. Isaiah had a really good year last year. I think he and Raekwon Davis are going to be really keys for us up front, and then we're going to have to grow some depth around those guys in terms of how successful our defensive line will be.
With only 3 defensive starters coming back, Isaiah Buggs, Raekwon Davis, and Anthony Jennings, the Tide is going to have to rely on some of the younger guys to step up, and it's something Jennings says will not be an issue.
I think the sky's the limit for our whole group. Definitely guys like Chris Allen. He came a long way. The young guys, the freshmen that just came in, everybody working hard and getting ready for the season.
And hard work is exactly what it's going to take if the Tide wants to win the national championship for the 2nd year in a row.
I'm excited about it. I really look forward to it. I love the competition, so we're just going to keep on keeping on, and nobody's looking backwards. We're all looking forward.
Now, all eyes will obviously be on Alabama this year, but Kayla, I gotta say, I do have some doubts when it comes to the Tide. The main thing I'm actually kind of concerned about is their quarterback situation. Everyone keeps saying we have these two great quarterbacks, but to be honest with you, we don't really know exactly how good Tua is. We have yet to see him play a full game, yet it seems as though everyone is on the Tagovailoa train. I'm just not buying it yet. And another thing, like I mentioned in the story, they only have 3 returning starters on defense. That's a little worrisome. But I do have to say, one thing we all know Saban is good at is molding young athletes and getting them ready to play on the big stage, no matter if they're an incoming freshman or a fourth-year veteran.
All very true. In fact, I'm still trying to fully understand the Tua appeal right now. I think he's a great option for the Tide, no doubt. But as far as knowing his all-out potential, it's really hard to say. The Jalen haters out there can hate all they want, but at least he can say he's done the job for Alabama the past few years. Now, with that being said, though, I do feel as though Jalen should have pulled the trigger on transferring if he ends up not starting this year, only because I think his playing time overall in the NCAA will probably be very limited if he doesn't win that starting spot for the Tide this season.
I completely agree, Kayla.
Yeah, but on a lighter note, here's something Saban didn't account for this year, becoming famous for something other than football. It's known as the infamous Alabama boat incident of 2018, and lucky for us, we were given some true insight on what really went down on the water. A few weeks ago, you might have seen this video circulating the internet. It's a handful of Alabama players hanging out on Nick Saban's boat. It was all fun and games, though, until they realized the boat had stopped working. Everyone was told they just ran out of gas, but when asked this past week, Coach Saban told us that wasn't the case.
Well, first of all, you know, let me get the record straight here. We got a brand new boat. First time I've been out in a boat, and the fuel pump went out. All right, so we did not run out of gas. Now, there has been some benefit from everybody thinking we ran out of gas. I've got at least 100 gas cans, so I got plenty of gas plans. If anybody needs one, let me know.
I was there. It was horrible. It's honestly fun, though, getting to see him get worked up over something besides football, you know.
I love that. But I don't know which one is worse, running out of gas or your fuel pump not working on a brand new boat.
I mean, honestly, I think I'd rather run out of gas just because a fuel pump sounds pretty expensive. So.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, coming up after the break, it's time to talk about the Auburn Tigers. We're breaking it all down for you from the defense to the offense. See how things are shaping up for them this upcoming season. We'll be right back.
And now back to the action on WZDX Sports Extra.
Why are you wearing glasses in a building?
Okay, I look good.
I can say for myself that the goals I set, I know I can achieve.
Tell me what your mama feed ya. You getting that cornbread and Oreo. Let me throw you on the story though. Trying to be like story mode. You belong at the war zone on Walla.
Get ready, because college football is back.
Man, if that doesn't get you excited for football season, I don't know what will. Yeah. Well, we're going to switch gears now from the Tide to the Iron Bowl champs themselves, the Auburn Tigers. Gus Malzahn was quick to take to the mic and let everyone know he was a hungry team this year. But with a tough upcoming schedule, can the Tigers defend their SEC West title?
It didn't take long for Malzahn to address the upcoming season.
We're looking forward to the season. You know, I really felt like last year we were close winning the SEC West, which is the toughest division in college football.
But kicking off the season against a top 10 team like Washington is sure to be a challenge. Malzahn explained how he thinks his team will handle the pressure.
Going to be a great measuring stick. You're talking about a top 10 team. A lot of people are picking them to be in the Final Four, which they were a couple years ago. They got their same quarterback back, and their running back is phenomenal. So it'll be a good measuring stick. It's a big game. There's no doubt about that. You know, and we're looking forward to playing him.
Coach was joined by 3 of his best guys, returning quarterback Jarrett Stidham, Auburn's leading tackler Deshaun Davis, and 3-year veteran defensive tackle Dontavius Russell.
We know we can be pretty good. We don't know if we will be as good as last year's defense or if we will be better. because right now it's just all paper talk. You know, no matter if they say we're going to be good, we're going to be bad, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, we have to step on the field and make plays if we're going to be a good defense.
And now that I have a full season, you know, in the toughest conference in college football, you know, it gives you a little bit of an edge. You know, moving forward, you know, coming back from my second season, feel much more comfortable.
According to Malzahn, it's the Tigers' starting lines on both offense and defense that will keep them ahead this season.
You don't have to worry about a situation where if you're not playing in a game, it's the caliber of talent goes down. So we can just rotate guys in and rotate guys out and not see a drop in production.
And making a trip back to Atlanta for their season opener is exactly what the Tigers had in mind.
We're glad to be back here in Atlanta. Anytime you get a chance to play in the same venue that your conference championship game is played in, I think it's very beneficial. And then the fact that you know, Auburn's just right down the road, and you know, we have a lot of alumni here in Atlanta, so you know, we really like playing here.
And I know a lot of people are looking forward to that first game of the season. Kickoff for the Tigers will be at 2:30 in Atlanta on September 1st.
That's right, and let's just stay on the Plains and talk about one of our own. Muscle Shoals native Jordan Peters had sort of a breakout season last year for Auburn. As a true freshman, he spent time at various positions, had a very crucial play during his first Iron Bowl that the Tigers would go on to win. So during media days, I asked Coach Malzahn what role they see him playing this year.
You really kind of utilized Jordan Peters last season in numerous different ways, corner, star, safety. What role do you see him playing this year, and how much do you think he'll contribute?
Yeah, Jordan Peters has the flexibility to play all. You know, he played nickel primarily in the spring. You know, you're talking about a freshman that got big game experience. You know, he made a big play in the Iron Bowl on a third down, and he's a very talented young man. And I know Coach Steele has a good plan for him, but he's flexible enough to play all three.
Well, sounds like some pretty good news for the Muscle Shoals native. But overall, Kayla, how do you see Auburn doing this year?
This is a tough question because, you know, a lot of people are judging the Tigers since Kerryon Johnson left. I think they have a lot to prove, but Malzahn said it himself. You know, this is a hungry team. They've got a little bit to prove this season. I think they'll come out. They'll do a good job. I'm not going to say they're going to take another SEC West title, but I think they'll definitely have something to prove this year. And like he said, all those players, they have new leaders on the team that can really maybe step up and show the younger players, you know, where to go this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. On paper, Auburn looks really good. There's no denying that. They have a total of 14 returning starters. I mean, that's great at all, but I've watched enough football to know that just because you have a lot of people coming back doesn't mean you're guaranteed a certain number of wins. Like, I don't think they'll get complacent, but if they do, if they try to start relying just on the fact that they have these people who have been here for years, it's going to be a wrap for them. They're going to have to make sure they buckle down, keep their heads in the game, and I think if they do that, I think they'll probably come in second in the SEC.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to have to figure out a new dynamic this year with this team. I think that'll be the biggest issue for them.
Yeah, I agree. And another team we really had our eyes on in Atlanta was first-year Tennessee head coach Jeremy Pruitt. I'm sure you know he's Alabama's former defensive coordinator, and let's just say he's very humbled to be in the driver's seat.
15 years ago, I was teaching elementary PE, K through third grade. Now I'm the head coach at Tennessee. I didn't get here by trying to be somebody else. I just tried to be who I am.
The Rainsville native and West Alabama alum comes with quite the resume. During his time as defensive coordinator, he's won 5 national championships, has 44 NFL draft picks, and not to mention 13 first-rounders.
So, of course, a lot of the time spent during the Tennessee's portion was talking about Pruitt's ties to Alabama and if coaching under Nick Saban could help him lead the Vols to a victory over the Tide.
If you had to pick just one game, is that the one you'd have circled?
No, the one game I got circled on my calendar is West Virginia. And only because it's the next one. I know that's coach speak, but the big thing we're going to do is we're going to worry about the things that we can control.
Don't you love how he kind of avoided that question?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we're not going to talk about that. But I do have to say, I love the way Coach Pruitt handled himself in media days, and I thought he was refreshingly honest. I mean, he has a lot of work to do. This is a team that didn't win any conference games last year, 0-8.
I completely agree. I'm a full Pruitt fan now because of how I saw him present himself at SEC Media Days. He really did a good job with the reporters that week, and I hope he shows up come the season.
Yeah,
I don't know if he will or not, but you know, he had a lot of good things to say about where he comes from and how he is going to become a good head coach this season.
Yeah, I think it's very promising. And like you mentioned, he was very just kind of humble, and I feel like you don't see that. Like, it was very quick to say, like, I didn't get here on my own, and he talked a lot about the coaches under him, saying how collectively they have a lot of high school experience.
That was my favorite quote of the whole week. He was saying, you know, 8 out of the 11 coaches under him all worked at high school levels, and that's really going to help them, because he was saying it's like an adaptability thing as far as coaching goes. Yeah, so I'm excited to see about that.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see. I love seeing coaches who have coached under Coach Saban see how they do when they're in the driver's seat. So I think it's going to be really great.
That'll be a fun one to see.
Yes.
But coming up, we've got some diehard SEC fans along with all of your answers from the SEC preseason media poll after the break.
On WZDX Sports Extra.
Welcome back, everyone. All eyes were obviously on the players and coaches this week, but it was the fans who stole the show at the College Football Hall of Fame. We saw old fans, new fans, Tennessee fans, and of course the Alabama fans, but the one thing they all had in common, they're all fans of some SEC football.
So I was there when Peyton Manning was there. I was there when the women won the national championship 3 times in a row.
What's it like growing up an SEC fan? Well, I know a few people who can tell you.
I had Alabama bibs. I drank out of an Alabama baby bottle, so I didn't have a chance of rooting for any other team except Alabama.
Definitely not Auburn.
No way.
Memories from Bama baby bottles all the way to Bama upsets.
I remember going to the game in 1982 where Tennessee beat Alabama and the goalpost came down and everybody went crazy.
And when it comes to Alabama fans, they're all asking the million-dollar question.
I really want to hear who our starting quarterback may be.
If you were in his shoes, who would you pick as starting quarterback?
Oh, that's a tough question. I like Jalen and I like both Tua, but I would probably have to go with Tua.
But when it's all said and done, these fans are here for one reason: SEC football. And whether it's Tennessee or Alabama, these fans support their teams till the end.
Roll Tide roll.
Go Vols!
Roll Tide!
Now, the Alabama fan in that story told me she'd been there since 4 a.m. because she thought it was going to be a madhouse full of fans waiting to get in. And I don't know if it was because they changed locations or what, but the number of fans I saw was a tad underwhelming.
Yeah, I actually thought that too, Kayla, but SEC officials have confirmed that media days will return to Hoover in 2019, like I mentioned earlier, so maybe that'll help out with that. One thing that also gets fans either excited or a little upset after media days is the preseason media poll. The votes are in, and first we're going to take a look at how things turned out in the SEC West. Of the 284 voters, you guessed it, 263 have Alabama winning the West. Auburn is sitting at second, followed by Mississippi State. Then my Aggies at 4, LSU at 5, 6 is Ole Miss, and 7th, Arkansas. In the Eastern Division, you guessed it, Georgia coming in at number 1, the Gamecocks at 2, Florida 3, Missouri 4, Kentucky 5, then Tennessee and Vanderbilt at 7. And the moment you've been waiting for, who does the media have winning the whole SEC? Well, you guessed it, Alabama. The Tide by far received the most votes to win the conference with 193. And second was Georgia with 69. Auburn coming in at third with only 14. Fourth is South Carolina. Fifth, Florida. Tied for sixth is Mississippi State and Missouri with 1 apiece. Kayla, I have to say I'm a little frustrated with whoever voted for Mississippi State and Missouri to win the whole thing. Like,
kind of what I was thinking.
It's definitely biased. I'm going to blame one of those beat writers for that. Like, I mean, I feel like they need to have their credentials revoked.
Something has to be done about
it. Has to be, yes. But anyways, let's talk about how we see the SEC, particularly the SEC West, shaping out as a whole.
Well, it's no secret Alabama is a team to watch out for. It's been that way for several years now. But who I'm most interested in seeing is Auburn. Like I mentioned earlier, the Tigers have a very strong line on both offense and defense. The defense is standing out just a little bit more than the O-line, but also they have Dontavius Russell, who frankly is underestimated. The guy has been a starter since his first year, and not many guys in this league can say that. I think the Tigers season will probably weigh heavily on how their opener against Washington will go, and that game will be a true test to Auburn's offense. And if they can hold up against them in the first game, I think that'll continue through most of the season, which will come in the clutch with their games against Georgia and Alabama, which will both be on the road.
Yeah, and I honestly think out of Bama and Auburn, Bama has the more favorable schedule. It's no means easy since they're the toughest division in college football, but I feel like their main challenge will be the Iron Bowl against Auburn. So my prediction is I say the Tide goes 12-1 on the regular season, that one loss being to Auburn, maybe. That's a very strong baby. I'm not sure on that one yet. I think they'll beat LSU at Death Valley because LSU is a team that still has a lot of developing to do. But I do have to say, if the Tide is going to claim the title for the second year in a row, this is the year to do it. Out of the 8 SEC teams they're going up against, half of them have new head coaches, which means a lot of unknown, but also a lot of rebuilding and getting back on their feet. So ultimately, here's how I see the SEC West playing out. Alabama will finish the season 12-1. Auburn 10-2. I think my alma mater A&M will finish third with 9 wins, followed by Mississippi State, LSU, Ole Miss at 6, and Arkansas last.
Nice.
Does that sound pretty good to you?
I mean, I think that sounds pretty legit.
Well, coming up next, we'll share our best of the week and reveal where sports director Mo Carter has been all week. Stay with us.
Well, it's time for our best of the week. This is a team out of Pennsylvania, and it's the last hit of the last game of their season. The team decides their special needs teammate Joshua Groff deserves the last hit of the season, but the coach made sure Joshua hit in style. They gave him a very own customized bat for the occasion, and wait for it. There it goes, a line drive straight to the outfield. His teammates are going to run out to the field to congratulate him, there. And boy, what an awesome feeling that must have been for Joshua and his team.
I love that. Now on to my best of the week. Kaylee, you might have to help me out with this one. You showed me this video earlier from the Huntsville Speedway, and I thought it was just the cutest thing. You have little kids and their toys from home, it looks like. A bulldozer. I don't know if you call that a bulldozer, but yeah, you know, a mini car. I think that's a John Deere truck, maybe. I mean, I just thought it was the cutest thing. I want to get my little niece, RJ, she has a Bentley. I want to get her out there because I think she might could, you know, put up a good fight out there.
Well, we told you earlier in the show, we'd tell you where sports director Mo Carter has been all week, and even though he missed out on some SEC action, it was all for a very good reason. This weekend, Mo was in Baton Rouge at the Southern University Alumni Conference, and during the annual event, he was inducted into the university's 40 Under 40. The 40 Under 40 celebrates the best and brightest young professionals, Southern University alums across the nation. So congrats, Mo. As always, we're proud of all of your accomplishments here in the Rocket City.
That is so awesome. Well, I hope you guys had your SEC Media Days, SEC Fix today.
We did.
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in to WZDX Sports Extra. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching WZDX Sports Extra. Furniture provided by Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries. Live life comfortably.